All right, now we're going to work another one. So here we have a problem that says to find the principal. We're supposed to be, finding this amount here, or, figuring out what we need to have actually. Find the principal needed now to get this amount. That is, find the present value. Now here, especially if you're using MyMathLab, or if you're really looking back at some of your textbook material, they're going to give you a different formula for present value. I'm not real crazy about that. For me, what I like to do is just keep it simple. We're supposed to get $75 after 3 years at 8% compounded quarterly. That compounded quarterly tells me this is just regular plain old compounded interest, and that formula is A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT power. The same formula that we used up here in this problem. If you keep that simple and say, okay, all my compounded interest is going to be using the same formula, then you're just solving for the missing variable. And now that we have had more knowledge, now we know how to solve for variables in an exponent. We've worked with logarithms. Now your toolbox is more full, so you have more things that you can go back to. Okay, so we've established that this is going to be compounded interest, so we need to figure out what all of our pieces are. Make sure that all of that works, and we're solving for the variable we're supposed to before we plug it into the formula. Okay, so I'm going to get $75 after 3 years. That means that $75 is my amount after time. After 3 years, that's my time frame. So I'm going to be using 3 for the number of years. At 8% interest, this is my interest rate, which I'm going to change into decimal form, 0.08. Compounded quarterly tells me my number of compounding periods. So in this case, that would be 4, because quarterly happens 4 times a year. The only thing we don't know is our principal. Now, does that make sense with what they're asking? We're supposed to be finding the principal. Well, there you go. We've done that correctly then. So let's plug all of this into our formula and solve for the missing variable. So here we'll have 75 in place of A equals P times 1 plus R, which is 0.08, over N, which is 4, raised to the 4 times 3, because those are N and T powers. I put that in parentheses. Alright, now we can solve this. This is actually not bad at all. We could, on our calculator, get this answer all by itself if we wanted to. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to switch over to the calculator view now, and I'm just going to type that in. I'm going to type in, that was, in parentheses, 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4, close the parenthesis, raised to the, in parentheses, 4 times 3, or you could even just multiply those out. We know what 4 times 3 is. That's 12 power. So that is this big long number. Now, if you do it that way, you just have to be sure. I'm going to go back to my screen here. You just have to be sure and write it all out correctly. So now I have 75 equals P times, and that was 1.268241795. Now I did not lob any of those decimals off. I did no rounding. You never want to round until the very last stage. If you do, then you are compounding errors, and we don't want to do that. But now to get P alone, we would just have to divide both sides by this number. So back at our calculator, I want to take 75 and divide by this number right here. We can do that by hitting second and then the negative symbol. You see above there it says A and S. That'll take 75 and divide by our last answer. So I need $59.14 to make that investment happen.